Well, it's 7:01, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Who's gonna take minutes?
Bradley's taking minutes.
Awesome, thank you so much.
First thing, motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Okay. And then before we get rolling, just as a reminder, just like at select board meetings or any other meeting, we ask that everyone be respectful. We will have a, public comment section. Ask to keep the comments, as concise as you can. That allows you to get your point across. This is going to be an intake of feedback. It's not going to be a debate or a discussion session. That is March 22nd at the Memorial Library for the Raceway Road project. That's where we'll be, discussing. We'll have more detailed information and whatnot. So before we get to Raceway Road public comments, is there anything unrelated to the Raceway Road from the general public that anyone would like to say? Okay. So my name's Cody Phillips. I'm the chair. We have Jessica, Kevin, Bradley. We're missing a few people due to injuries and other obligations. What?
Colby's first.
Okay. You can address your comments to me since I'm the chair. And then, yeah, so I guess we can do raise hands and go around the room and go through comments. Jack is here from Local Motion, and he will be happy to step outside and answer any questions beyond the 30-minute comment section. So if you want to have further discussion or learn more, he's available to do that either maybe in another room since it's getting cold or outside. Beyond that, I'll open it up to public comment with regard to the Raceway Road project. And we're here to hear your feedback and take that into account with what we try and do to improve bicycling and pedestrian activity in Jericho.
And there's gonna be another session later in March for more
Yes,
discussion.
March 22nd, there will be a longer session at the library where we'll have, more visual aids and time to actually have a discussion and go back and forth. Is there any public comment about Raceway Road?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay,
So.
Should we have asked people to state their names?
Sure.
if you
Greg
want.
Statlander. I live on Alpine Drive, which is off of Willow Lane, which is off of Raceway Road. Lived there for 23 years. I regularly bike, walk, ride horses, drive on Raceway Road. And I think I'm very concerned that the road is going to be very restrictive and it's not going to be as open to those activities as it is.
Okay,
And I regularly see people stop, go slow past bicycles and pedestrians. So I am really failing to see the need for this. And that's my comment.
thank you. Thank you for your comment. And just to clarify for anyone who wasn't at the select board meeting on Thursday, the project is temporary. It's by no means, nothing is permanent or getting constructed or in the pipeline. It is, going to be ideally 1 to 2 months trial period to gather speed data from before, during, and after to see how traffic patterns change, gather community feedback from residents all over Jericho, everyone who is a taxpayer and utilizes the roads of Jericho, as well as residents of the road who are most directly impacted. So it's really a learning exercise, not a means to force something into reality.
So do we know, is there any option of just reducing the speed limit on Raceway Road in certain sections?
That is beyond our committee because we are an advisory committee to the select board who then advises the town. So, that can be part of our recommendation after we, as we study this, but we have no authority to do anything like that. So that has to go through the town and through the highway department.
Is that something that you're considering recommending?
Yeah, I mean, speed limit is part of it, does the infrastructure help, encourage people to follow the speed limit? Is the speed limit too high? Like it's all it's the whole big picture.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not trying to monopolize.
no,
No,
those are thoughtful questions.
Specifically, to the speed limit concern, which is enforcement is always good. For speed limits, once you change the speed limit, I believe there's a 5-year grace period before you can start handing out citations. You can stop people and warn them with the new speed limit.
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I think there might be special changes, like if you're in a village center or designated downtown, but otherwise it's a long ways out.
Sure.
My name's Will Beve. I live off of Raceway Road. I've been there for years as well. Is there a picture of what you're proposing to temporarily?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, and I'm sorry for being
I'll-
late, but I think I missed.
No, I'll add a little more clarity. So Jack has a picture of like the concept. The idea is to put these, like you see this white ballard here, every, I believe, is it 25 to 50 or 50 to 100 feet?
25.
Every 25 to 50 feet, so that, there's enough space that a car can pull into the lane if it's not being used and allow someone to pass. Mailboxes aren't obstructed, driveways aren't obstructed, so it's, very spaced out. It is more intended to create a visual barrier that makes the driver recognize that that is some space I should give to someone who's using it, rather than like a hard physical barrier that can't be impeded upon. These, well, I wouldn't want to run it over with my car. You definitely could. It's a soft, flexible
Okay.
ballard.
The other question I had, as an advisory committee to the select board, have you guys studied the easements that are already in place? Actually look at Raceway Road and how it's maintained and what's already there for pedestrian egress and access?
We're aware of the sidewalk running from the Jerry Hill Elder Facility, and that has been grown over, but other than that, we're very focused on the road surface itself, not anyone's property or anything beyond the normal current
Right of way.
traveled surface area.
So, and on the road surface itself, are you guys studying the physical construction of Raceway Road and how that is?
I mean-
Physical construction.
Unfortunately, that again doesn't fall under our purview, so it's something we can put in our report and say, hey, this is like a serious concern, because it is dangerous to a bike rider or a walker. If you're on the edge of the road, you could fall off the side into a driveway.
And I'm not trying, because I walk the road, I bike the road, I drive the road. There's two, at multiple points that meet Raceway Road, where you guys are proposing to put this study,
Mhm.
I don't know what they're called, study.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
Study process. The elevation of Raceway to the intersecting roads is off.
Just some quite big drop offs.
So
Yeah.
One of the things I think should be suggested back to the select board is that Raceway Road physically needs to be improved to the right elevations. Even just driving here tonight, the traffic pattern on Raceway Road is this.
We were
Yep.
just out there, making sure we put eyes on it before we come in here
Yeah.
again, and it's quite a wild road right now.
It's gonna create a slalom course. I don't know how you guys are gonna deal with it. Is this gonna be up there in the winter?
No,
No,
It's
this
not
will-
during mud season either.
the plan right now is, I believe it's late July, August, so when there's ideally the least amount of grading going on. The road's usually in its best condition at that time of year. And we are worked with the town, the highway department to make sure if any grading does happen, that
Just pull them
we're
off.
able to move those, they can grade the road unimpeded. But I absolutely hear you on the level of the road, and that's something we'll definitely be mentioning, but again, we don't have any say in that, so we can suggest it and hope that the highway department does something.
we don't have authority, but we do have a voice and we do hear you. You're definitely not the first person to say that Raceway is not built in a way that works for the people who live there, like especially the people who live on Raceway who have lakes in their driveways because the road is so high and, you know, people have been expressing frustration for years that the road is getting taller and taller. And it's making getting onto the road impossible, and the people who live there now have lakes, and it's just not working, so, yeah.
And then also, if they are going to improve the subsurface of the road to continue having it be gravel, or if they decide to go with paved surface, either way, I think this committee wants to be ready with recommendations so that when that construction happens, it'll be done in a way that includes pedestrians and bicyclists.
Is that AKA widening Raceway?
I mean, as you see,
Is
it
that
might
a
not be
recommendation?
necessary.
I hope so, because I think the general consensus is everybody wants the road to be safe for everybody, right? For pedestrians, cyclists, automobiles, everybody wants that. I don't think that's up for debate. I think up for debate is we've got a not very good road and we're concerned that it's going to become even more impacted.
And I think the thing I'll add is my personal opinion about what should happen is not too important because we need to make a recommendation based on the reality and statistics. And then before any construction's done, the town would have to have studies done and go through all the procedures that town have to do for any road. And they're going to recommend, you know, based on the science of their profession, right? So while I might have this idea, you might have that one. We're not here to litigate or decide on those so much as we're looking to study, you know, what impact does having a protected pedestrian travel have? Is it an absolute disaster and we learn from that? Is it, you know, a home run and this is something we all want? So
Or
anyways.
could we take the good parts and then iterate and change some things that don't work for people? That's why it's temporary, because some people think it's a good idea, some people don't.
This lady had
Yeah.
her hand outside. I didn't want to ignore you too long.
Is the focus to study this section of Raceway Road to come up with a solution, or just to study to see what this type of solution does in the real world?
The goal,
I read,
the goal is to study this for use on Raceway. That's like, you know, of course, we'll learn things that the town can learn to implement all over town, but is this a solution that's suitable for Raceway? And we're doing it on just the first third with, you know, the mind of, could this work all the way around? Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't work on the first third, but we want to minimize, you know, we don't want to experiment with the whole road. We want to run a test in a short area that can be used by the most residents of the road because of all the neighborhoods that connect to it. So we could get the most feedback of people saying, I didn't walk any more than I normally do. This didn't change my life at all. Or now I walk to the store and I love this, you know, and that's the main goal.
so another comment that I had, and this is a serious one, the safety aspect of getting to Route 15 and the installed flashing lights that run on solar. Those do not work.
I agree. I just tried to use it today.
So, and I have multiple walking with my son, without my son, biking. I've almost been run over. Just the other night, I had to stop traffic and my car had flashed while kids were waiting to cross. So I hope that the committee can make solid recommendations that if you're going to increase walking traffic to that crossing, that there has to be something that works for anyone at any time in any weather situation. Because no one is stopping there and it is an accident waiting to happen.
Regardless.
Jolly too, the other.
Yeah, that one just got hit like a few weeks ago.
My understanding is when they got hit, there's a technology that was existing with the signs that were there, and then the new sign will replace it in the new technology, and they don't talk. So I think there's a sign issue, but I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
But I have asked the question too, and they have like two different electronics for it.
Yeah. Without deviating too much from our original topic, I have been involved in conversations where the light was out and the town was trying to source it, but it took them 6 months because we're a small town with limited resources, but
Well, also because the supplier, like the light they bought last time is no longer made, like
Right.
products, like.
It's a false sense of security. It's
Yes.
seriously dangerous.
And that's-
I hope that you guys. make
that's
a
what-
recommendation
yeah.
to Permanently fix it.
And that's something that is separate from this topic and.
But really
we
important.
can.
Completely related.
Yeah. It is.
Well, it is something that's, it's not contingent on this. We can do that now. We can recommend the town, please fix it.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about
And that's
safety and
something we-
access.
Something we are actively doing. We don't have the ability to force the town to do
Oh, I
anything, right?
understand
So,
that. This is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Perfectly
Yeah.
great place to give feedback.
Yeah,
Yep.
So, my name's Jess Hoskins, I live on Laurel Lane. I echo a lot of what everybody else has already said, what I want my family, we have, almost 5-year-old at home as well. I really want my kids to be able to walk to the store and to walk to Browns River and to walk to the library. One thing that Elizabeth would share, if she wasn't nervous looking in the room with a bunch of adults, is that, she really wants to be able to walk to the grocery store. It's a goal that she has. And my husband and I would allow her, but Raceway is not safe. So the detail, like all the nuance or whatever nitty-gritty details about how that happens, whatever. I would like to see some recommendations that involve increasing walkability and having me be able to allow my kids to do the things they're asking to do when we think they're old enough to do it based on their age and not based on their being safer.
yeah,
And I would only add to that, that I don't want it to be seasonal. Like, seasonal really, I'm out there today walking with my wife at lunch and I'm not walking on Raceway Road.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know your study is July, August, but we really need a year-round solution, not a temporary.
Yeah.
And our hope is that this is, if, the results pan out, this is something we can recommend the town, research a more permanent solution and do a study, and do it the right way, but.
So if the question is like, do I support you studying it? Yes, please look them up. And
Okay,
see what happens in 2 months and then let's go from there.
thank you. Yes,
Evening, I'm Chris Shandel, my wife Nicole, we live right on the corner of Raceway and Brookside.
okay,
I wanted to make a comment, I'm pretty sure everybody in this room is on the same page that Raceway, as it is right now, is not conducive to pedestrians, bicyclists, whatever. And obviously, the ideal solution is going to be widening Raceway extra 4 to 6 feet in order to put
Mhm.
a specified lane for bicyclists, pedestrians, stuff like that. My comment is, when we do this study, when we shut Raceway down to 1 lane, what are we gonna be learning?
We might be learning that we need to widen the road. I mean, that might be
We already know
the,
that.
but well,
Jess, I'll
yeah,
take this.
yeah.
Without getting too much into discussion, because I don't want to, we could be here all night debating how to fix Raceway. We went out just before this and we measured the road and we took 2 full-size pickup trucks as well as a 4-foot lane. And there was room for all pedestrian, pickup truck to all travel in their directions unimpeded. It is close, but it's not, mirror touching close. And Jack can share a picture if you like. So that,
I just gotta say though,
But that's
what
just
about the
one section.
UPS truck? What about you driving down there with an 8-foot wide trailer? I mean,
so the
I
cones would
agree
be,
that, you went out there and you looked at it, but
Passenger vehicles.
I mean, I appreciate that you did that, but it's not necessarily the whole picture.
it's not the whole road. It's just that first third of a mile. And then the cones are every 50 feet. So if you do have 2 vehicles that are larger than 2 full-size pickup trucks, one can pull into the 50 feet between a cone, let the other one by. And that's what that vehicle would have to do if there was a pedestrian anyways, because a pedestrian has the right to be on the road and all vehicles have to yield.
And they do that, and I think the concern is you don't live on the road, or maybe you do, I don't know. But as somebody who regularly travels that road, I think that's an inconvenience. And
Okay,
Well, the other thing that you guys are up against is Raceway is used as a cutoff for trying to beat traffic, which is an insane thing to say, because we don't actually have traffic in Vermont. We have congestion, but we don't have traffic.
yeah,
And when Raceway had bridge construction and vice versa, the traffic patterns created insane congestion on Raceway, where also younger drivers are passing 20 cars at once. So is the idea that this is going to be a one lane choke point at the beginning of Route 15, Willow Lane, for 2 months? Because the truth is, you do have large service vehicles that are coming in on rotating schedules, from Myers dump trucks to sanitary vehicles. You're gonna have major congestion that spits back out onto 15 to study, and it's gonna be real.
well, we can definitely discuss that more on the 22nd. I
Just to
think
be aware of it.
Yeah.
The traffic patterns and uses are not just primarily cars and trucks. There's service
Yeah.
vehicles, a lot of other things too.
So, you know, my opinion, my comment, I have a couple of questions.
Did
Sure.
I don't, did
I'm
you say?
Brian from Raceway Road, Brian Latimer.
Okay,
So hypothetically speaking, you get your lane all the way down Raceway. What are you trying to achieve? Because where's that lane going?
so. Hypothetically, right now, the proposal is for a third of the mile, so it connects to, what's the last street?
Willow,
Willow Lane, which has, several houses off it. The idea is that we can then at least study everyone whose house is off of it could then walk to the grocery store, the library, the middle school, and get a feeling for what it might be like if there were this infrastructure existing.
But hypothetically, as a bike lane, you're saying.
If it was all of
Go the way
Raceway.
Down Raceway, right? What's your goal? Just for Raceway Road to get to the market?
So there's the Route 15 path that's, I'm not sure exactly where it stands, but it was decided on, but it's not in construction or anything.
Right. The sidewalk stops, right?
It,
And
at,
then there's a period on 15 where there's no sidewalk that they have to figure out.
yeah, so
And then
that's,
it's Raceway Road,
yeah,
right?
what they've approved is they said, we want to do a plan where this gets to and crosses to Raceway, and then people are on Raceway as it is now.
So you still have to figure out how to get from where the sidewalk ended to Raceway Road.
No, so the new plan takes you all the way to 15 opposite of Raceway and then puts in a flashing crosswalk to cross. That's
Which end of Raceway, the bank
Uh,
side?
the bank side.
this, yeah, the bank side
Cross to what?
to Raceway Road.
There's a sidewalk, there would be.
Right now, there's nothing on the other side,
Right.
but it gets
That's what
you
I'm saying.
to the
But they
entrance
want
of
to build
Raceway.
a sidewalk from that crosswalk
Mhm.
Yeah.
towards Jericho Elementary.
No.
Yes, yes,
Well, so
Jericho.
yes.
there are a whole bunch of sidewalk projects that are in various stages of coming to pass in the
Right.
town. And sidewalk projects take a glacier amount of time
Right.
because of all of the studying and the voting and then the budgeting and then getting grants and then talking to every single property owner. It takes forever. And as it kind of should, because you need to be respectful of all the people you're gonna upset.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be beautiful.
So that we already have the town already has 3 other sidewalk projects that are ahead of this in the queue. So it's not an imminent thing,
Right.
but there is an approval to intend to plan to build a sidewalk from Griswold where it just stops right near Silly Hill. The sidewalk just stops and you're like, oh, shoot, and then you're stuck on Route 15. And there are a number of people who walk that stretch and it's scary. And I run it all the time to get to Raceway. So you'd get all the way to Packard, which would be really cool to connect Packard to JES.
That's a huge window. We still gotta get approved.
Well, the town approved it, but we still have to actually do all of the other stuff, including get funding and talk to the property owners and figure out all the details around. You walk that area and there's the closer you look, the more complicated it is. But the idea is we're trying to connect communities. So we're trying to connect the JES area of Jericho to the Underhill Flats area. And so we want kids to be able to get from the middle school to the elementary school, or we want kids to be able to get from one neighborhood to another to have play date or something like that. We want people who don't want to drive or can't drive to be able to get out and get some exercise, visit friends, go to the store. So the more connected we can be, the better.
And
So that's our ultimate goal, and we need to do it in little tiny pieces because it's so complicated and expensive. So if we get, like, a lot of sidewalks look dumb until you connect them all together, and when you first make the first few steps, it's like the road to nowhere.
Right.
But after a while, they connect up and you're like, this is cool.
So what I'm hearing is so the sidewalk from like Griswold
Mhm.
on towards Packard, right? There's a lot that has to go into play there, right? Property owners,
Yep.
concrete, infrastructure, all this other stuff, right? That's gotta go into play to make that connector.
Yep.
However, we're talking about Raceway Road here, where we're just gonna throw ballards out and and there's no look into the infrastructure. There's no look into the road. There's no look, oh, we're good with the infrastructure on the other part of the sidewalk, but not the infrastructure on our side of the sidewalk. See what I'm saying? So like, there's no thought that's been presented to fixing the infrastructure of Raceway Road to prep and have a viable sidewalk, bike path, whatever you want to call it, right? There's no thought to upgrade the infrastructure, but the other section of sidewalk, we have all this thought and planning going into infrastructure.
so, and I'll
That's
just,
just
I'll keep it quick, because I think we have a bunch of Zoom people that want to make comments as
Right.
well, and we're running out of time, but what they've got to on 15, right, which they're maybe halfway there at best, has been years in the making of, surveys and studies and whatnot. What we're hoping to do on Raceway is the first step in that years-long process, and our hope is that by the time we get to a point where the town is voting on an actual plan, like hypothetically, we're gonna pave it and do this, or we're gonna grade it and do this. That's gonna be 2-3 years down the line from now at best, right? And by then, they'll likely have started construction on that other section. And this section will then be going through, the rigorous design and approval processes. And so our hope is that we can start this now, so that when that other one's done, we're ready to go on this one, rather than waiting until that one's done and then saying, now, what should we do with Raceway? And we're, 5 years of studying it before we break ground on anything, and then another 5 years of getting funding. And then
Turns that cart before the horse, right?
it's always a chicken and the egg problem, and sometimes there's no good answer, and our hope is that this solution is very temporary. If we get 7 days into it and the town and everyone's like, this is a disaster, it takes me 2 minutes to go out and pick those up and we're done, right? And if we get a week into it and everyone's like, all right, I don't like it, but it's livable, we can do this for a month, and then we can all give our feedback that this didn't work. It gives us somewhere to go to the town and say, hey, this didn't work. We're gonna need a different concept, and we go back to the drawing board. So I don't want to cut you off, but we'll try and keep this moving, but I hope that is helpful.
Is
Yeah.
there anyone here?
One last just comment question. During the study, is there gonna be a safety officer or any kind of safety oversight?
I'll let Jack, do you want to take that one?
You mean like on the road at all times, or?
Yeah,
Or anytime?
at all.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have volunteers from the committee and from the community sort of sign up for this through either the town's outreach or local motions. Kind of keeping an eye on the road. I don't know if we've been that or something. But we'll be able to respond to emergent safety concerns. If there is like a tight point that's presented, if some cone were knocked over or something, that'll be corrected. Otherwise, the town, the select board, they're signing on to this as a project, presumably, once they vote on it.
And I should add that the project has not been approved by the select board, so we will be, presenting this to them and with more facts and data and like a full presentation, so they can make their decision on whether this goes forwards or not. And so this is where we're soliciting your feedback so that we can bring them the best plan possible. I'll give you 1 minute, because we got quite the Zoom list. I
Well,
want
I
to make sure
don't
they
know,
get time as
no one
well.
has their hand up right now, but they,
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, could you raise your hand and then we'll come to you in a second? Okay,
So I do have a couple of comments. One of
Can you
them
say your name?
is- Oh, sorry, Nicole Yanda, corner of
Thank
Raceway
you.
and Brookside. So particularly at our location, as was addressed, there is probably 1.5 to 2 feet
Yeah.
deviation from the roadway to this top surface of Raceway. There's also a visual obstruction at the corner of Raceway and Brookside that impedes the ability to see what's coming around the corner. There's a huge cedar hedgerow that is there, which is great for the deer, but
Yeah.
not so great when you're trying to get off of the road. And that is a significant safety concern for me, having, if it's on the Willow and Brookside
Okay.
side of the road, which I believe is intended to be. Because that also, I mean, I've seen cars go through, make those corners, not stop. We have elderly people who walk on the road, walk their pets on the road. I have had the fortune of working at home for the last few years. I no longer do that, but during that time, I can tell you, big trucks, big trucks, go flying down the road in the middle of the day. Construction vehicles, the trash vehicles. I mean, it is a huge safety concern, and the teenagers that drive through and young adults that fly down that roadway, lowering the speed limit. We don't even see, I don't know, I mean, those of you that have lived there longer, I've only been there like 6 years. There is no speed enforcement on that road at all, ever. So I know you mentioned speed studies, but I'd
Yeah.
like to know what studies are being done, what times of day are they doing them? Because if it's not during major commuting hours and like lunchtime, it's not effective. It's not effective studies. So just very concerning for me.
that's great
as a
feedback. Yeah.
walker. And, I love to walk my dog over to the park, and, we love to walk over to the farmer's market, but seriously, and I love your horses coming through, always. But it just is a very big safety concern
So-
visually and the speed.
Jack is from Local Motion and he's taking notes and he's helping us as someone who this is his full-time job because the rest of us have like other jobs. So he's taking notes and I think Jack can enlighten us. We have some ideas of speed studies.
Yeah, just really quick before I get down.
Yeah.
The only one there right now. We're working with the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission to get those like pneumatic tubes that go across the roadway. So they'll put them up for a couple of days, a few times across the month and get 24-hour data. And that gives you both the volume of traffic and also by like timing how quickly they hit the different pneumatic tubes speed. We did a similar thing in Shelburne, very different context, downtown Shelburne.
Right.
We already built this slide, right? Did you fill that out, okay?
Yeah, they were out
Falls
a
Road.
couple years ago, on Raceway. They were out a few years ago.
Yeah, so I think they got the annualized average daily travel for that study. That was part of the payment study. They got
Different data.
765 vehicles
per day.
per day annualized. So
It's just,
some are
it's just
probably
whole
more.
different data, not
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So it'll be traffic volume. It'll be that annual average daily traffic data. Probably not perfect because it's a different application. But when we did a similar before and after pneumatic tube test, Falls Road and Shelburne saw speeds on highly concerning part of that road drop from 36 as the 85th percentile, which is what most people drive, so according to the experts, down to 25 in the less traffic calmed areas, and specifically in front of like the general store and where people were crossing the street, they went down to 22. This was similarly removing the center line, which you can't have on a dirt road anyways, but narrowing the road to a point that, it is tight, but they do also have large trucks and both commercial and residential and cars pass it. And they achieved a very severe reduction in speed that hopefully makes it feel more safe. It would definitely be easier on my tires if I went 22 miles an hour down that road.
You can go that fast?
I don't think I've gone over 15 on Raceway for 2 weeks now.
And that brings me to another point is you can't do that study at the time that the road is in rough condition. It needs to be like a day or so after they.
Thank you for coming and sharing your comments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really,
That's just the concern to get a real accurate study, so, and I'll let Jenna have her.
Just pick a couple, there's actually 2 hedges. There's the one on,
yeah,
those are both issues. If you're gonna put the walkway on that.
these would be great things for our other meeting, because I want to
Yeah.
let Jenna get a chance. Go ahead, Jenna.
Oh, hi, Jenna Chafin. I live, right off of
the road we're talking about. I walk my dogs every day. I'll keep this really brief because I did comment on the other meeting as well. I fully concur with the real problem being the speed limit on the road and the condition of the road. And that's the largest safety concern that I have as a person who walks my dog daily in those neighborhoods. So I'm just concerned about these ballards going up and there being some perceived level of safety when people are still going to go the speed limit they're going to go, which is 35 to 40, unfortunately, because of the speed limit of the road. So just voicing that concern, maybe echoing someone else, but wanted to throw in my head on that one. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. That was some good feedback that I think is definitely repeated.
For student safety, it's good though.
Well,
Perceived safety is false
No.
hope.
No, I think it's good to.
It's a good comment.
Somebody
Oh,
call out
yeah.
perceived safety, because it's the
I was
same
gonna
thing
say,
with.
because it's wrong.
It's an important comment.
Yeah, you can assume more people.
Is there anyone else who is looking to make a comment? If you could hit the raised hand button. Okay,
Yes, true.
yeah.
yeah, so
We have Maria's got her hand up.
great.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Maria.
yes, good evening. This is Maria Young and I live in Valley's Edge off Raceway. And I just want to echo, I don't want to reiterate what everyone else has already said, but I echo their concerns about safety or perceived safety. Also the issues with creating a bottleneck in this third of a mile from here or from Willow to the end of Raceway, connecting to Route 15. And I know you had said that, this is temporary and we'll get feedback and you'll say, well, this is a bad idea. After a week, we'll take them down. Or maybe, people say, well, this is, really good. So my question is, if it were to continue, into say past August, and then we get into winter or weather where we are going to have, mud season or there's snow. I mean, how would you deal with this for plowing and things like that?
So our hope is for 1 month would be great. If everyone absolutely loves it, maybe 3 months, but no more beyond that, because this would not work in the winter. This will not work in mud season. This is very much to give us really a data set and some real life community feedback. So you're not you're not having to imagine what it would be like. You're actually living through it. And that would be it. So we definitely would not go into the winter mud season, because that would cause, I was just out there today and it would be a disaster.
Our
Yeah,
ultimate goal, if it goes well, it would be awesome to keep it up through National Walk to School Day, which is in early October. If it doesn't go well and we have to remove the ballards before then that's the way it goes. But we would certainly be removing them by mid-October at the absolute latest.
And that's very much going to depend on how it goes and feedback and all
Right.
those things. So-
Yeah, to me, it just seems like it's although I would love to have a non-motorized path for walking and biking and all that, I just think Raceway it's not feasible. The condition that it's in. I mean, I'm reiterating, re-saying
Yeah.
what everyone else has already said.
It's still good to
But
say.
it's a vote in support of what's been said, so it's helpful, and unless there's anything more, I'll jump to Colleen, who has
Okay.
her.
Yep.
Can you
Thank
hear, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, hi, I'm Colleen Conti. I live on Valley's Edge. So I'm just curious if you're gonna have like signage explaining this all, or just put up the ballards. And I was also wondering if electric vehicles are going to be allowed in the ballard part. So like electric bicycles, electric wheelchairs. Those
I
were really
will-
my questions. So that's it.
okay. I'll let Jack take that because I think he's gonna have better answer than me.
Yeah, I don't know how many pieces of paper I can laminate, because we're gonna have around 100 of these posts, but our plan is to probably 5 or 6 different posters attached to them, and I know you can't really see them. Might be able to.
The camera's actually behind you up on the wall in a funny way. If you go over here toward us.
There you go, you're in the
Got
center.
this.
Yeah.
Put it next to the guy with the hat.
On the table, like a loop in it. So we'll be able to attach things pretty securely to that, including posters that say, hey, this is part of a demonstration project. These are our goals. Don't worry, it's not gonna be up forever. And then after maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, we're gonna replace those signs with another survey that says, basically, you've gotten used to this, or we hope you have. Now that you've gotten a chance to like experience it on the road, what are your thoughts? Do you feel safer? Do you see cars going slower? Are you walking and biking more? And that's gonna help us kind of measure the change in whether people are walking and whether people are feeling safe, which is important. In terms of, oh, actually, if it doesn't last a month or if it doesn't last 2 weeks, we're still gonna send a survey out and post it up on the street on post and just say, hey, do you remember these? What were your thoughts?
And
For
then,
bikes and mobility, I think wheelchairs and pedestrians, motorized wheelchairs, that is like the intended audience for this pedestrian lane. In terms of bicycles and e-bikes, I would hope, and what I've heard from like the gravel riding community in the area is that they are just gonna take the lane and then they can move over to the shoulder as cars need to pass, just as they do right now. But that the speed and kind of the size of those devices aren't really best suited for the lane.
So you're saying e-bikes should stay on the road as a vehicle, not on the pedestrian side?
It depends on, I'm not gonna say that to a 10-year-old.
Listen, there's different classes of
Right.
electric vehicles
Yeah.
too.
But if
Isn't it
it's,
just common sense? If nobody's in there, you ride there?
yeah, hopefully,
I think we're getting into a enforcement versus intention debate. The intention is that it's for
Yeah.
pedestrians and, motorized wheelchairs.
They may have the right of way or the.
If nobody's in it and a bike person feels safe riding in it,
Yeah.
that's, up to them.
I think you'd have to review what the town ordinance would be for the existing sidewalk.
Yeah.
Very
Some
good point.
communities don't allow bikes, some do, because I think this might, and I don't know, I'm assuming, maybe look it up, that this would classify it under the sidewalks.
So and if you can find something, please send it, because I have not been able to find any official Jericho ordinance about bikes on sidewalks.
Yeah.
There are in other towns. but
Because
not here.
I grew up under the impression you can't ride your bike on a sidewalk, and I'm an avid cyclist, and so I've always stayed off, but I learned that in Burlington, you can ride on a sidewalk unless they tell you can't. This is what the town ordinance says online. And then in Montpelier, you cannot ever ride on a sidewalk, no matter what. And so it's very much, there isn't a state law, I think calling that out. So if the town doesn't have a rule, then there is no rule. I mean,
But Colleen
So-
raises a really good point, and the question of e-bikes is a big question that I think is being chewed on by a lot of groups, so it's good feedback.
I think what might be important for the 22nd is, maybe some factual documents showing your statements. So, for example, you saying that the speed limits can't be enforced if it changed for 5 years. My knowledge is town puts an ordinance in place stating that this road is now 25 miles an hour, and the town signs that ordinance, it then goes into effect. I don't know, I've never heard anything about a 5-year window. So just have that.
Yeah.
This is the factual cited location of where this information is present.
could I ask for your help on that?
I
Jack could get you his email, and if you have a list of all these, that would give us the time to get all that for
I'm
you.
sure the town can help with that too.
Yeah, I mean, you just have some of the good questions, so I want to make sure.
Those ordinances to assist
Yeah.
law enforcement with enforcing things in the town.
Yeah.
But, some of that data, like, we still haven't seen the survey results as taxpayers, right?
We're still collecting them.
22nd, we'll see that. I'm
Yeah.
assuming. Just some of the stuff like that's been said, like, the width of the vehicle, cite that, right? The width of a commercial vehicle is 8 foot 6 inches. They can get permits to go wider than that, right? So if a commercial vehicle is 8 foot 6, and then another commercial vehicle minimum is 8 foot 6.
Yeah.
How much room does that leave, right? And then just being able to cite that specific, here's the fact behind it to support whatever you're stating, right?
Or even what's the average weight of a garbage truck? We have garbage trucks, we have UPS, FedEx,
School
pretty
bus.
regularly, and school buses. Just knowing those 3 widths, I think would really help.
And anything you think of that you're like, hey, make sure you come with this, that you can shoot us an email and just say, this is one of the things I'd like to know. That would help, because again, we're all volunteers, and like, I go home from this and I got other work to do.
No, I get
So please send your emails and comments. Jack can share his email with anyone here, and he can loop me in.
Right.
I'll get to Paul and Sharon, and then I think we're quite a bit over our allotted time for this topic.
There's, okay.
If Paul and
Hello,
Sharon.
can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank the participants in the room. They're bringing up excellent points and comments, and I appreciate you being live there. Thank you again. I made a comment earlier that, and I wrote it in. I don't know if it made it into the notes or not. There was a comment made about all the trucks and things that are on Raceway. There's another thing that happens on Raceway. Sometimes it's used as a detour. There's
Yes, we saw
unfortunately,
your
there's a
comment.
significant, accident that occurs on Route 15, and all of a sudden we'll turn around and there's hundreds upon hundreds of cars coming up Route 15 or coming up
Yeah.
Raceway, and it just changes the whole complexion of the road for, however long the emergency situation is going.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make that point. The other thing, I in the back of my head, I just have the feeling that I think a lot of people are very respectful of walkers and bikers on the road. The people who live on the road know that occurs, and I think one of the people in the room commented that most people slow down. Most people are cautious around those types of folks. I do think there's other things that can be employed, and some of them have been commented on here in the road, whether it's speed limits, whether it's the sidewalk, that the temporary smaller sidewalk. There's things that the intersection, there's things that can be executed to still get to the objective of safer operation for bicyclists, for walkers on Raceway, without going down the path of a one lane road down the road where cars have to yield to each other. I think that is going to be a major inconvenience for the folks who routinely are on the road numerous times a day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And then as I close this, I want to say thank you to everyone in the room. This has been an incredibly respectful, conversation and feedback and very thoughtful. And so it's just like really nice to see public, or I guess local politics. I wouldn't quite say it's politics, but right, like this is cool to see it, in work. And so I appreciate everyone coming and making respectful comments. You're welcome to join for the rest of our meeting. I'm not sure it will be as riveting as this has been, but feel free to stay if you'd like. And Jack can
Yeah, I'm gonna jump
chat with
out.
anyone who wants to chat outside.
Mhm.
Yes, this is the agenda. So
So
now we
check
go
in with
into
people
like
about other
getting
projects.
maps printed for the trail network and
What's the best way to communicate with the committee?
so on the Join in Jericho site, there is the committee chair email, which is my email address. And then Jack can share his email address with you. And just since he's helping us, it's great to have us both looped in. I am, again, a very part-time volunteer, so I don't check the email every day and I don't always have the time to write a complete thought and
somewhere around
response,
here.
what maybe once a
Jessica,
week.
can you type in Jack's email to the chat so the people online can have it too, please?
Yes.
Thanks.
But that's the chair email. So whether it's, if I'm not here in 6 months, it will be someone else. And then Jack's email as well.
We'll be
So,
here.
yeah, ideas, feedback, all of that, will help us make sure this is the most beneficial and the least impactful, and we have the best ideas going forwards, because the more heads you put together, usually the better the idea gets.
So thank you for listening. It's
Absolutely.
It's appreciated by everybody.
I
feel like people haven't felt like they've had a voice. So maybe this isn't totally the right place for some of the comments, but at least for the ones that were appropriate. Thanks for listening.
It was also helpful that everyone was respectful and concise, and that allowed us more time to go deeper than I thought we would be able to. So, all right, I'm gonna close on the Raceway discussion, and then anyone who wants to chat with Jack, feel free. And then we will go to our other less thrilling items.
So.
Okay.
I might not have. Oh, yeah. Me too.
Okay.
See y'all next month, or actually.
Next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thanks, guys.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then this Wednesday, I'm gonna be back out here to go to Jericho Park. Anyone wants to join, you don't need to.
Sure, if you let me know, I'll come with you.
Yeah, it's like 11 a.m.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Ping me, remind me on Wednesday and I might be able to join. Or if you want to go, yeah.
As long as we're not too intimidating if 4 of us show up. But
Yeah.
I'd love to meet them anyway, since I live right there.
Yeah, okay, so follow bios. Niels is not here. But he got in contact with the new person who does maps. And they got the QR code on it. Actually, I think I have an email here from him.
They're gonna be back, right, Brian?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Brian.
Or I thought it was Matthew, but I couldn't,
Brian Matthews.
yeah.
So there's the map with the QR code now.
That's what.
And it has our connection. Where we
Can I see that? This is the.
Oh, this is just for the town forest.
Cool. And the connection.
Yeah. So
that barcode for pops up the PDF.
it should take you right to the app in the trail network, so.
25.
Yeah. And then Niels actually threw something out there by accident that he was like, well, shouldn't these be on the paper maps as well, which is the whole network, which is true. There's a few networks on the paper map that aren't on Trailforce yet. So I think the correct procedure would be to add them to Trailforce. And then I have to make a new QR code that's for the town of Jericho rather than the town forest. So it starts more zoomed out. But I think that's a great, to do items. But
You guys get a lot done here.
I think you missed a few.
Yeah, well, I think it was.
Yeah. So anyway, so Niels is rolling with that. I think we're good to get that one printed.
Right.
And then, Jesse, always close that.
Yeah,
That door.
I also,
That way they can chat. And then,
You still have that?
Sorry, no, it's okay, thanks for coming.
the next item was for Jessica to provide an update on a spreadsheet about old bike ped plan. And before you respond, I will say I talked with Jack a little bit about this, and then someone from DCRP, CC, I don't know. You know the thing,
Cannon County.
Cannon County
yeah,
Recreational Planning Commission or something like that.
CCRPC. It's like
And then I
jump rope.
talked with Susan briefly about this when I ran into her at the brewery from the planning commission, and I think this is quite a big project and the kind of thing that we're going to need more funding than you would think it should cost to do it. And so I think that's something we should just work with the planning commission in the town and say, this study needs to be done. The town needs to identify funding, and then if the town would like to do it, they can proceed.
And what's the study?
So it's not a study, it's a bike ped plan.
Oh, yes.
Basically an update of the 2050. And so I
No,
think,
it's not Stantec, it's another, it's like RGS or something. Yeah,
Right.
but the thing we can do is at least send it to them, get a quote. Like, what would it take to update this? How much work is it? And then we can take that to planning commission in the town and say, and
Here's.
begin the process of, do we want to do this sort of thing, and how beneficial, how much new information is there to put
Yeah.
and all that. So that one is, gonna kick the can down the road on that, and focus on our more immediate things for the month of March. And, okay, update on sign/document for kiosk at town forest, acknowledging the work and participation of the Girl Scouts.
very good idea. It's been sort of eclipsed in my task list by all of the Raceway
Okay.
action that's happened, so I haven't, it's also been very cold and wet and snowy, so
I-
it's a great idea. We should get it done for spring, especially now that we have some of the names identified.
Sure, and maybe that can go hand in hand with putting some sort of trail markers up, so.
Yep.
When people are like, where did this name come
It's a
from?
good spring project, yeah.
So, great update, and then Colby is on Zoom. Update on document sign, I think these are from the meeting I might have missed. For use in the town forest and other locations indicating revegetation, oh, yes, this one. Colby on here,
Not seeing her at the moment.
No. Oh, sorry.
I'm guessing it's still winter, and
Where you go?
and this is something we'll work on.
Yeah.
But I would say this is probably something we should try and get done by April, because the way the weather's changing,
Yeah.
people could be on the trails by then, and
Yep.
getting it up, getting it up sooner than later, so that when the plants start to regrow, they don't get trampled, I think it's
That's a
critical.
good
So
idea.
if, I'm sure you can help her if she needs help, or like second person or a second opinion, but if more is needed, let's tag
Just as
people
a,
in.
as a tip though, we have a lot of those maybe 6-foot metal stakes that you might pound into the ground to put a wire fence up.
So we could.
They are
remove those.
already in the forest in bad places, being stupid and tripping dogs. And we dug out like 2 wheelbarrowfuls of them with, the last crew. And I am like on a mental quest to like finish the job, because
So-
so my point is to put the signs up. We have posts that are already in the forest that just need to be dug up and moved, and it's all sand, so it's not
Let's,
hard.
let's have a to-do item. Clay usually does like a shorter list of like action items.
Yeah.
Let's have it to do for Colby to get the sign done and printed by the April meeting. And then when she gets them printed, please save the receipt and we can, put that on the budget. And then we can maybe set up a trail day in April to go out, hold some of the stakes out.
Yep.
Put some of the signs in
Yep.
and
That'd be fun.
that would be two birds with one stone. And then I'm gonna guess no progress on Wolf Run because that is probably
Winter.
not travelable right now.
It's still pretty, yeah.
And then I've given you guys an update on the original bike ped plan, kind of where that stands. We're gonna put that on the back burner for now. And then the QR code for Niels to send is done. Update on the meeting in Essex. So I did go to the Essex Town, what do they call it? Plan, transportation plan meeting. They basically had an open house and we're asking
That's great.
suggestions and connections, and I was going partially related to the Raceway to meet someone, and partially because I ride all those trails. And anyways, it was pretty interesting. They've spent like $80,000 to come up with a new town plan for bike ped. So like, obviously ours is less, but that's,
Yeah.
It's a pretty big ordeal. And then they are working on a bunch of things that would basically connect you from Saxon Hill, ideally to the Essex experience. And so what I mentioned to them was, please let our committee know if there's any opportunity to connect from Saxon Hill to Jericho, because that would unlock Burlington and beyond.
Yep.
And so I think it's very loose ideas right now, but there's at least like, it's on, I put it on their radar.
Yeah.
Can't guarantee anything will happen, but at least it's there. And there was mention of an old railroad bed that cuts through.
Some of it's built on, some of it's not.
Yeah, and then, there's gravel roads anyways. So we put it on their radar and hopefully they'll come to us. And
So there's also the Bass Trails active right now. So,
Oh, just in general.
well, yeah. And like some of it is very clearly like,
Farmland.
it's, yeah. Well, some of it's like near houses and it's like definitely a winter thing, but there's definitely some of it we could use. Cause it crosses over Skunk Hollow, 15.
we'll say
River Road.
they could use, because we can't do anything.
But if it gets into
Right.
Jericho,
Yeah.
it's just, it's,
Jericho could do something, not us.
yeah,
It's what I'm.
I see what you mean.
I agree. I think there's a half dozen ways it could be done. Some better than others. Ideally, it would be like something like the Stowe Rec Path that actually follows 15, but yeah, I think that's a pretty pie in the sky idea.
I'm so into pie in the sky ideas. Like, I love that. I would love to see that sort of thing on Nashville, like a pedestrian gravel, bike path that sometimes is near the road, sometimes is off in the woods, sometimes comes back to the road, whatever works. And that would be delightful.
That's the dream.
How's our
right there.
Zoom attendance?
Yeah, you
Yes.
have got a few people.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe we could ask if anyone has any final questions if we wanted to, or invite people to send email if they haven't.
I sent you guys the list of people who were on the Zoom when it was full, so you should have that in an email, Cody.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was just a screenshot.
Great.
And then I just wanted to tell you that I did mention to John Coyer at the last Jericho Underhill Land Trust meeting that that you guys are trying to reach out to him and make a connection. So I told him to put that back on his radar, so he knows that he has to connect with you.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you. All right, then our item number 11, the AARP Community Challenge Grant. So Jack and I came to the select board meeting on Thursday, which is why some of this discussion had already been had.
Yeah, it was spicy.
The select board agreed to allow us to apply for the grant, so we have applied for it. We will find out if we're awarded it, and then if we're awarded it, we'll need the select board to agree that we can accept it. They have to read the terms and make sure there's no obligations.
Yeah.
And we don't want to accept it if they're not going to allow us to perform the project. So I'm working on getting us on the agenda for the May 1st select board meeting to present our findings so far and request formal permission to run the Raceway Road test project.
Sure.
So that is the update on that. And then is there any additional community input not related to Raceway Road that anyone would like to make? Okay, and then is there any new business that anyone has to suggest or not on the agenda topics that we would like to cover?
What's our project gonna be for the summer?
I think the town forest, we were talking about getting the signs up, getting the stakes out, and then
Maybe fixing some of the bridges.
Yeah.
Or looking at some of the trails. Since the Ghost Dam, they have funding to remove that now. That's a good reminder that the trails that are all down in that lower section that we haven't named because we're not really sure that they should be where they are. And some of them have been washed away and some of them might wash away further when they take the dam out. So
it should
I
definitely.
feel like
leave
we need to
those.
be watching and
Yeah,
maybe considering some river crossings that are light and movable, but still strong so that
Mhm.
people can use them. And then if they get washed away, we can put them back, you know.
Yeah.
Some of them have been made by various people as volunteers and they,
other than that, I think if this project goes forward, this permission will carry into May. And then implementation will be August. And we'll need, Jessica's offered, Peter Booth, who lives right next to Raceway's offered to be like on call if they need cones moved, if they're gonna grade in a few hours, so.
Yeah.
We'll wanna like build an email list of people who are like, I
yeah,
work from home or
Yeah, so-
whatever, right? Like
yeah.
I'm available. So that if she's on vacation or I'm out of town or whoever, right, someone can go move those and we're not impacting grading, cause that's like.
Yes.
We will get burned at the stake if we impact grading,
Oh, yes.
so.
I wonder if it would be possible for us to reach out to the folks at the town garage.
Jack is already.
I'm
talking with
saying
them.
specifically before the March 22nd meeting to get some sort of pre-answers, like they manage that road.
No, that's what I mean.
Okay,
Jack
great.
has spoken to them and I think they initially agreed, like, they'll do their best to give us 1 to 2.
I'm not
days
even talking
notice.
about the ballards. I'm talking about all the feedback that we've gotten on like, what are we doing
Oh.
with the road and its future and the people who live on Raceway who want,
I
they want
think-
more information about what is being planned and how it's being managed.
Even like.
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
It's not-
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point that we could have, maybe that's something Jack, or if one of you has time and you wanna, get some hard answers on that.
Nobody said don't pave it.
Didn't hear anybody
No.
say nothing?
Nobody said don't.
And nobody said don't widen it, which was interesting because a lot of people live there.
Let's,
And there was some comment about easements that are existing, you mentioned sidewalk, that's.
we're still live. You guys
Yeah.
want to adjourn this and then we can?
No, I think it's fine to
Okay.
have it
Yeah.
all in public record.
That's I looked, because there's the fire department owns,
That's actually the Foothills Water Supply, common land. If you're talking about that
yeah,
sign that says no
yeah, well,
trespassing.
I was wondering what.
Yeah, it's
he's
weird.
Talking about exactly.
I mean-
That falls off on that side too, right?
It does.
Falls
There's
off
some
on
weird
every
cliffs.
side.
Yeah, Raceway's spicy for sure. We
But
picked
we're
the
only in
easiest third
the
of a
first
mile.
Third of a mile, so it's, there's no turn, it's a very straight,
Yeah.
straightforward section.
Yep.
But the 22nd is our chance to give more details, similar to tonight, I think.
But I'd love to have some answers to a lot of the repeating points.
I think as much as those answers exist, we
But
can, like.
I mean, I
ask
thought that was
them.
great, like
But yeah.
how wide is a school bus? We can find this out. How wide is a typical Myers truck, a typical Casella truck?
Yeah.
I didn't know that they came barreling down Raceway. I figured they'd go kind of slow, but she lives there and that's what she says. So that's,
Yeah.
I think that's all just really important feedback.
And then we can take all that feedback and we'll be able to present it to the select board in May.
Yep.
Who all is planning to be there on the 22nd?
Definitely.
I think I'll be able to be there.
Not this coming Saturday, but the next one.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't remember off the top of my head.
It's probably-
I think it's afternoon.
But it's a Saturday.
Wait.
Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon at the library after they close. I want to say it was 2.
I think it's 1.
Okay, 1.
Thank you.
I think it is on here. Yeah, 1 PM, March 22nd.
Great.
But as long, like, Jess, as long as you can be there, you're,
Yep.
you know, vice chair and also a resident. And you've been involved with this since the start. And Jack will be there, so obviously he can answer questions.
We should probably do some AV work, so we have pictures of things
Yeah, I
to
think
present.
Jack will have, he showed me some of the preliminary data, but we're still gathering results. It's not ready to
Yep.
publish, but it will be by then, and so we'll have good data on how
think we
people
should
feel when
throw-
they're using it.
I would consider throwing another note on front porch. Well, we didn't do any front porch forum because it was so local, right? We didn't post anything to front porch forum saying.
I don't think we
fill out the
did, but I
survey.
think we could at this point, because everyone has seen it now, so. I
Yeah,
think-
I'm just thinking, I haven't filled it out yet because I'm a space cadet and I'm not on my computer, so I just was like, oh yeah, I have to do that. So I'm just thinking, if I haven't done it, how many other people? Like, it's your typical thing where
I think that'd
if
be a
you're
great,
angry, then you'll fill it out. But if you're like, yeah, that's a good idea, then it's not like super motivated.
so that, I think that's a great to do for you, since you're a resident, front porch forum expert,
Okay.
since I don't front porch forum, but if you could post it and fill it out,
Yeah,
that would be great, because I think it's you know, all the residents have had a chance to see it. They got their cards. The town has shared it. Sabina's put it on the email
yeah.
to the town. It's been shared, you know, with various,
Some people need
activity
multiple
groups.
reminders, yeah.
and Front Porch Forum is another place where some of those people might not check the town. Like, I don't read the town website personally unless I have to.
So.
So yeah, we just want to get all the feedback from people who use roads in Jericho.
So, just looking, Raceway is about 20 feet wide right now.
So we measured it at 23 today with the
23.
tape measure, like road surface before it drops off the
Yeah.
road surface.
Okay,
Um,
23. Your average lane is 10 to 12 feet wide, and then a 5 to 6 foot bike lane with a buffer of a foot. So 24, 30, 31, yeah, 20. So 5, 6 feet on each side, realistically.
If you were to go that route, yeah. Yeah.
Which,
I mean, we definitely don't need a lane on both sides, but
no.
like that's a narrow road. There are some real pinch points. So there are gonna be some spots that we just have to be like, that's the best we can do.
Since we've reached the end of our agenda.
Yep.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn the meeting. If
Sure.
nobody has anything
No,
else,
I think we did really well.
no other business?
Oh.
Motion second.
Second.
All
All
right.
right, we'll try to figure out how to end this meeting.